Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a breaking news update. This is Bob Reportington, coming to you live from Channel 69 Action News. Reports are coming in from an urgent and unprecedented announcement from none other than the legendary hero himself, Nooky Man. Sources say this announcement could change everything. Stay tuned as we go live to the scene. Brace yourselves, folks. This is big.
Hi there, I'm Nooky Man, and I got something to say about Mr. Checkmate. But before we begin, this is a parody using a fictional superhero. Any characters, events, or lines are fictional, and any resemblance to real people is purely coincidental. I'm just making that clear, in case you haven't bothered to read the disclaimer at the beginning. Yes, it's me. The superhero who saves kittens using butt power, questions the meaning of fabulousness, and occasionally overthinks everything, all while standing dramatically in a cape. You might be wondering why a random gay superhero is giving a speech in a news studio. And honestly, so am I. But sometimes, the world needs a little absurdity to make a serious point. Before I continue, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to Bob Reportington for having me here today. Truly a brave decision. Not many would invite a caped individual to stand completely still and deliver a speech of this magnitude. And yet, here we are. Your courage does not go unnoticed, Bob. Nor does your excellent choice in studio lighting. It really brings out the dramatic presence. So thank you for the opportunity, the platform, and for not questioning how I got in here in the first place. One thing many people do not realize is that sometimes the most ridiculous voices are the ones that end up pointing out the most obvious truths. Today, we're discussing a curious character, Mr. Checkmate. People love a scandal, but what happens when the scandal isn't real? You know, the kind of scandal where it's literally just noise, just loud whispers and assumptions. Most conflicts have more than one perspective. Understanding them takes effort. Even superheroes need perspective. But understanding a situation doesn't mean excusing bad behavior. Mr. Checkmate has been painted as something he's not. Literally. Someone gave him bright green stripes and a tiny top hat last week. I mean, he still looks fabulous, but it's not exactly the outfit he asked for. Maybe it's time we question the ones pointing fingers. Or just stare dramatically into the distance like I do. Lies spread fast, but the truth's got weight. And no matter how much people try to push their little agenda, the truth ain't going anywhere. If Mr. Checkmate was really this dangerous guy they claim, where's the proof? Oh, that's right, there ain't any. Just a whole lot of noise from people who want a villain to point at. And of course, if Mr. Checkmate were ever guilty, well, an apology would be in order. Listen, I don't waste my time on nonsense, and I ain't about to start now. I don't waste my time on nonsense, and neither should Mr. Checkmate. Sooner or later, the chaos makers get tangled in their own webs. That's just how it works. To anyone out there pointing fingers, maybe it's time to stop and take a long, dramatic look in the mirror. Time to wake up, or at least put on your cape first. Sometimes, advice comes in funny ways, like, does Rookie sinfully? And let me tell you this, Nooky Man does Rookie sinfully. Some people rush to post, comment, or share, without pausing to check facts. Not unlike me trying to save the city while balancing on a laundry basket in my cape. Dramatic, isn't it? I know what you're thinking. Why is a superhero standing still and talking for 3 to 4 minutes? Good question. Dramatic pauses are my superpower. Also, my cape is ridiculously heavy. And I'm allowed to express myself and my opinions even on ridiculous topics such as Mr. Checkmate. Just because the loudest voices scream the most doesn't mean they're right, unless they're yelling at me for fashion advice. then maybe they are. Mr. Checkmate isn't here to argue. He's just living his life while the internet spins its web of noise. And that, my friends, is exhausting. But also a lesson. Take a step back. Look at the bigger picture. Consider the facts. And maybe question your own assumptions while you're at it. And while we're on the topic of heroes, if Mr. Checkmate wants to wear a green little top hat with stripes, he has every right to do that. Absolutely every right. Stand tall, look fabulous, and let the world wonder what mysterious powers that hat might contain. Style is also a superpower, after all, and nobody should take that away. Now, I have to say a few words about Bob Reportington, truly one of the coolest news anchors I've ever had the pleasure of working with, calm under pressure, unfazed by capes or dramatic pauses, and somehow able to keep a straight face even when I'm blinking intensely or delivering very important nonsense. Bob has the kind of professionalism that makes a superhero feel at ease, which is impressive considering how unusual my particular brand of heroism is. Working with Bob is like discovering the perfect sidekick without even trying. He asks the right questions, nods at the right moments, and somehow makes a studio full of lights, cameras, and random props feel like home. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's just a delight. Honestly, if I could give Bob a cape for bravery in the face of absurdity, I absolutely would. But for now, a heartfelt thank you, and the knowledge that he is, in fact, a legendary news anchor, will have to do. Now, many have asked about my unique ability, what I like to call butt power. A highly advanced, completely natural force that can lift objects with the precision of a tractor beam. All without wires, fuel, or complicated machinery. It's efficient, it's renewable, and remarkably environmentally friendly. No emissions, no noise pollution, just pure, focused energy doing its thing. I even once tried to use it to save Mr. Checkmate from sliding into a vat of something very sticky and vaguely concerning. Success was debatable, but style points were awarded. Scientists may not fully understand it yet, and frankly neither do I. But the principle remains. While others rely on heavy equipment, I simply stand still, focus, and let the power do the rest. Clean energy. Heroic results. Future approved. I'm still not entirely sure how I got into this news studio. 1 minute I was standing heroically on a rooftop. The next I was under bright lights with a microphone. Nobody questioned it. Which concerns me slightly. Every hero needs fuel. Some choose protein shakes, others choose snacks. I choose snacks. Because nothing says prepared for anything like standing heroically with a biscuit in hand, contemplating the mysteries of the universe. Sometimes I wonder, am I the hero of the story? Or just a guy in a cape who wandered into the wrong scene? But then I remember, confidence is key. If you stand still long enough and look dramatic, people will assume you belong there. Fake news is everywhere, louder than a marching band in a library and twisting facts like spaghetti in a blender. Some stories scream for attention, some disappear into the void, and all of them make the internet feel like a circus with extra capes. But even superheroes know the rule. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it's true. Stand still. Blink dramatically. Let the chaos untangle itself. Facts are your cape. Critical thinking is your superpower. And if all else fails, snack wisely while observing the madness. The internet is a fascinating place. 1 minute you're watching a cat play piano. The next, you're knee-deep in a debate you didn't sign up for. It's like wandering into a supermarket for snacks and accidentally ending up in a philosophical argument about cereal. Confusing, but oddly impressive. People always ask me, "Nooky Man, why do you pause so much?" And to that I say, timing. Timing is everything. A well-placed pause can turn confusion into clarity. Or at the very least, make you look like you know what you're doing. Observe. See? Powerful stuff. It's interesting how quickly a situation can change depending on who's looking at it. One person sees something small. Another sees something massive. One person sees nothing at all, and another writes a whole story about it. That's the thing about perspective. It shapes everything. But not every situation needs to be turned into a grand narrative. Sometimes what you're looking at is just a moment, not a scandal, not a plot twist, just a moment that got a little more attention than it probably needed. Before pointing fingers or jumping to conclusions, it's worth asking a simple question. Do we actually know what's going on? Or are we just filling in the gaps ourselves? It's easy to connect dots, but it's even easier to connect the wrong ones. Assumptions can feel convincing, especially when they're repeated often enough, but that doesn't make them accurate. Taking a moment to question what you're seeing and why you're seeing it that way can make all the difference between understanding something and misunderstanding it completely. At the end of it all, maybe the goal isn't to argue louder or prove a point at all costs. Maybe it's something simpler than that. Maybe it's about letting people exist without turning every situation into a spectacle, without turning every moment into something that needs to be analyzed, debated, and picked apart. Not everything needs to be a performance. Sometimes peace is just leaving things be. A rare concept, but a valuable one. And if none of that made sense, don't worry. You're not alone. Even I get lost in my own speeches sometimes. But if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that not every situation needs a villain. Not every moment needs a reaction, and not every story needs to be bigger than it is. Sometimes it just needs less noise. A little more thinking, and, ideally, the return of the cowboy lime. I still haven't found it. If you happen to see a cowboy lime wandering around, do let me know. I can't seem to find any limes here in this news studio. It's a real shame, honestly. A superhero can only function for so long without citrus. Before I continue, a quick public service announcement. If you've enjoyed watching me stand dramatically, blink occasionally, and dispense wisdom about life, the internet, or cowboy limes, consider subscribing to SamiVapor Studios. Yes, you heard me right. Hit that button, join the chaos, and witness more heroic pauses, capes, and highly questionable powers in action. Your support fuels the adventure, literally, and honestly, it might just save a lime or two along the way. So, to sum it all up, rumors fly, accusations multiply, the internet never sleeps, but the truth stands quietly, strong, unmoved. And Mr. Checkmate? He's standing right there with it, dramatically, in a cape, blinking occasionally, just like me. He ain't the bad guy here. Mr. Checkmate just needs to live his life in peace without sensationalism, so you guys can put down your pitchforks. At the end of the day, the truth don't need to shout, it just stands tall. Maybe it's time people stop listening to the loudest voices and start thinking for themselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my perspective on Mr. Checkmate. Continue the video, Sammy.